Hey, y'all. This is Dr. Carr, the Culture Docent, here to help you navigate and curate the experiences you want to have. Welcome back. I know we took a little bit of a break in between weeks, but I am excited to be back here talking to y'all today. We are going to get into feedback. Okay. I think about feedback a lot. This conversation was actually spurred by just different conversations with people, but definitely a visit to the nail shop where there was this sign around feedback. You could call the hotline, and then somebody will come right to you right then if you're unsatisfied with the service. There's also this QR code, right, where you can scan it, leave reviews, take the survey, and say how was your service that day. And it reminded me of, this idea of feedback and that we should be constantly and regularly asking for it, open to receiving it on a pretty much daily basis, whether you are a leader of your own organization, whether you are working in an organization, whether you own your own business, doesn't matter, right? We should be seeking out that feedback. So feedback is one of those things that everybody either thinks they do incredibly well or they're actually afraid of giving it because they don't want someone to take it personally. They are maybe afraid of a negative reaction, negative consequences to giving feedback, right? If I'm trying to give feedback up, that maybe my manager will look down on me, or look unfavorably on me because I offered them feedback. Um, you know, the other way around, right? Trying to give feedback to someone that's more junior, they may not receive it or take it well. Right. So we are going to get into that because whether you are giving it or receiving it, it really is necessary for your growth and for the other person's development as well. Giving and receiving feedback, both of those, they are skills. They are skills and they have to be honed over time, right? You're not just going to automatically one day be good at giving and receiving feedback. So I'm gonna be honest, when I first entered in the workforce, I was annoying as hell. Yeah, I was. I'm sure people probably hated working with me. Probably for a lot of the reasons that they hate working with most younger employees. And this is generation agnostic. When you get into the workforce, you've been working there for a while and you have a younger person come in, there is typically some sort of friction and not in the best way possible. Young folks who would come in challenging everything and, question everything. We always got an opinion. And I was more aggressive than assertive. Like, truly, I was an aggressor. I was not assertive with it. If I saw a process or a practice or a system that I thought could be improved, or, I had some insight, so I felt like I knew a little something about it, I was offering an opinion on it whether someone asked me or not, right? And later on, this ability to be able to see ineffective processes and practices and find solutions for them would lead me into the organizational development path and the work that I do now. But back then, it was just something that I was doing kind of inherently. And it didn't matter how right I was in the moment, my delivery was off, right? If I'm offering feedback on something, my delivery was off. It was not going to be received well. Um, and a lot of that was, also my relationship to feedback. I was getting very defensive immediately if someone was offering, even if it wasn't, that bad. It was just like, why are you questioning what I'm doing? Why are you questioning my process? Or why do you always have something to say about how the way that I do it, right? Even if I didn't vocalize that, I immediately felt that if someone wanted to, even if they were just prefacing the conversation of like, oh, can I offer you some feedback? I immediately tensed up and I would get super defensive even before they even open their mouth, right? And the feedback that I received, right, it felt more like I was being chastised versus some constructive criticism, which I do not use that term anymore. It's kind of outdated. But at the time, right, that's what it was, this constructive criticism. And one of those reasons is because in most cases, I just was not open to receiving the feedback. Again, I was already tense, I was already defensive. So my mind was not open to, it wasn't primed to being able to be receptive to whatever the person was going to say to me. And then number two, often the feedback was not actionable. Let's say it was like it came from somebody that I absolutely respected and I really wanted their opinion. And it was maybe about my performance at work and all ears, like, I want to do well. I'm open to this feedback, but it wasn't anything that I could do with that feedback. It just wasn't something that I can action on. I wasn't really offered ways to change my behavior. I was just kind of told to change it. And when I personally gave feedback, modeled a little bit of that, but I was more constructive in the feedback that I provided. I was a lot of it direct, right? But I lacked tact. And I can be honest about that. I did. I lacked a little bit of a tact. And we need to be mindful in the delivery, right? Receiving feedback is still something that I have to regularly work on. It is not something like, oh, I read a book. I know how to receive feedback now. It is something that, I don't immediately feel defensive about anymore. I really started to reframe my thinking around feedback itself and the purpose of it is and how it relates to my goals, right? Because really, what you can always do with feedback is turn it around, receive it, and make goals out of it. So let's think about when we are receiving feedback, the first thing you need to do is check your feelings. Check them. Okay. When you're receiving feelings, you check them. Okay. We have to start there. Everything is not personal. Not everything is an attack on your character. Not everything is a personal affront to you. Not everybody is a hater. Not everybody is hating on your ideas, right? If you have a design flaw in a new product that you've designed and someone comments on the flaw and how there may be potentially some ways to fix it, they did not call your baby ugly. They did not say your mama was fat. Don't take it personally. You're responding, your reaction, that defensiveness, but your feelings in it, you're responding in the same way as if someone completely insulted and assaulted your character, as if, they're not the same. They don't deserve the same type of reaction. You need to check your feelings. Check your feelings at the door. Try to receive feedback with an open mind and an objective stance. So, number two, I want you to consider both the messenger and the message when receiving feedback. Sometimes people are haters. Sometimes people are actually nitpicking, right? So, I know you can relate to having a micromanager or you've had a coworker that thinks that they're the boss when the boss is gone, right? Like, baby, sit back. Ain't nobody, nobody is worried about you. You trying to impress somebody. You're never gonna get that promotion, right? Like you've had one of those coworkers that's just they gotta comment on everything that you do there. They gotta bring out the rule. They gotta do all these things, right? They're offering you feedback that you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because it doesn't really mean anything. So consider both the messenger and the message. If you are coming from an open mind in an objective stance, you will be able to better discern if there's something really of value to take away from that feedback. So, yes, maybe that coworker is extremely annoying and feels like, someone assigned to put them in charge, even though nobody ever said that. But they offered some feedback on your slides that if you really sat with that open mind and absorbed it and kind of separated that messenger from the message, that's something that you can be like, you know what? I don't like them, but they're right. Right. Broken clocks are right at least twice a day, that type of thing. Right. So just absorb it, take it for what it is. Right. And if it's something that it's like, actually they're being a nitpicker, they're being a hater, they're doing too much in this moment. And I really I'm open to receiving the feedback. I'm being objective in this moment, but there's nothing I can really take away from it. There's nothing then you can take away from it, right? Like just let it just roll off your back and you keep it moving. But you really want to have that discernment, and you can only do that by checking your feelings. Okay. And I will say, make sure that you are asking for feedback regularly. You need to intentionally seek it out. You cannot grow without it. You can't grow as a person. You can't grow as a professional. You can't grow as a business. Feedback isn't just about how to do your job better. It's how you can be a more supportive teammate. It's how you create a more inclusive and diverse environment for everyone around you. It is how can you restructure your business to deliver better results for your customers? Let's say that you're a restaurant owner, right? And you've added a new menu item, you changed the layout of the restaurant. Instead of trying to watch people's faces to see if they like that new menu item, or when they walk in the door to see if they're pleasantly surprised or displeased about the new layout, you should ask them, right? You should seek out their feedback on the things that you change. Don't try to make assumptions. Ask them directly, right? Invite their opinions, invite them to provide you with feedback so that you can make adjustments that make sense. That if it's like, hey, we actually love this new layout, keep it how it is, or this new layout makes it really, really difficult for me to have conversations that are comfortable without hearing the person right next to me, or I have to lean all the way forward, or I have to sit all the way back, or actually now I'm right by the speaker and it's too loud and all I hear is music and I can't hear the person across from me, or I have no idea where the bathroom is, that type of thing. That's the type of feedback that you want, right? And again, you can only get that if you are seeking it out on a regular basis, because this is only going to help you improve. It's only going to help you grow. And it does not, when you're thinking about receiving feedback and you're seeking it out, you're actively seeking it out, you need to provide the vehicle for which you need to receive the feedback. So that could be a survey that you send out later, like, hey, how was your service today? It could be a quarterly performance check-in, because again, it can't be once a year. You need to be asking for feedback regularly. It could be in real time, in the moment. Hey, how are you feeling about the topics that we're going over right now? How's the speed that I'm talking about? Am I going too fast? Do I need to repeat something? Should I go over these sections again? Does that make sense for you? That is asking for that real time feedback. It's not just about getting that clarification, but it really is something that you can do that is actionable for you. And then I would say another thing that you need to be thinking about when asking for feedback on a regular basis is don't be afraid to ask for clarification, right? Feedback has to be actionable. There's nothing that you can do if you receive feedback of just great job, right? So you need to, if that's all you're receiving, it is on you to then ask questions, because you want to know, well, what about the job was great? And it feels kind of weird saying that, but that's how you're going to get more effective and more influential and more just overall better feedback, is if you can take the lead. If it's not actionable, you take the lead on making it actionable for you. You take the lead in organizing it in a way that makes sense for you. So if you are having a conversation about that new menu item, right? Is it, you said it was great. Like, it was a spice level. Okay. Is there anything that we could have added that would have made this, stellar for you? Right. Like that type of thing. You want to ask those questions when it comes to perhaps a change that you're wanting to implement. Ask it, like, if everyone's like, oh, I don't really like this. I don't think we should change this process. You need to ask why. What about the process is disruptive for you? How can this process improve? If you wanted to make a similar change, how would you go about doing it? What should I be considering when implementing this change? Who else should I talk to about this change, right? So asking those clarifying questions, that way you get some more information, you get more inputs, you get more feedback that will help you set you on the right path to success in whatever it is that you're trying to do, right? Because you want that feedback to align to the ultimate goals, whatever they may be. All right. So let's hop over to giving feedback. You'll see a little bit of a mirror here because some of the steps are the same. Okay. So check your feelings. That's first and foremost. Check your feelings. Now I'm giving it, but do I really need to provide feedback in this moment? How is my intended message going to help or harm? Is it necessary right now to do it? Is this something that can wait? Is this more of a conversation? Am I nitpicking? Am I bothered by this? Do I have a bias here? Should this message come from me? Right? Maybe it's more appropriate to come from someone else because I am that coworker, the annoying coworker that thinks the boss let me in charge, and maybe that's not my role to share feedback in this moment. Maybe it does need to come from a supervisor. Maybe it needs to come from someone that is more objective, because if I offer the feedback, it's going to appear that I'm being biased when really that's not my intent. But I want the feedback to be well received, so I know that I have to pick the appropriate vehicle for that. Am I being objective in this moment? Am I being a hater? Straight up, am I being a hater? Do I want to pick at everything they're doing because I'm hating on them, right? Like, That's a real question. And sometimes you are being a hater and you just have to check your feelings around that. When you are trying to give feedback, check your feelings at the door. You need to be objective, right? We want the other party to be receptive and leading, having an objective stance. You also are giving it, you want to be, for this to be an exchange. It is a loop, it is a back and forth, it is not just one way. And so you have to be objective in the moment as well. Also, want to note that feedback should be timely. However, if you need to be objective and you need to take an hour or a few minutes or a day or, worst case scenario, a couple days, right? Just to get away and remove from some of that heightened emotion, whether it's your emotions, whether it could be from the other person's emotions, that's fine too. Again, it should be timely. Don't forget about it. Don't not revisit it, but ensure that you take the time that you need to be more objective in the moment. And again, if it's somebody else that needs to deliver it, that's okay too, right? But as long as the feedback gets to the intended party with the intended message. All right, number 2, we are going to be delivering feedback that is equitable and actionable. And when I say equitable, I mean you should be as complimentary as you are critical. So don't only focus on the problem areas, right? We need to focus on the positives as well. Positive feedback is a form of recognition and it can reinforce the behaviors you want to see. So identifying those areas of opportunity, providing area ways to achieve it, that's what's going to make that feedback actionable. So it's equitable, it's both good and bad if we want to look at it like that, but then it's also actionable. So again, great job, 10 out of 10, no notes, oh you ate that, yeah, those are cool, those are cool compliments, I would love to receive that. However, not all the time, not all it can't be all the time. Those are sometimes like a real quick in the moment, but you should be offering feedback that reinforces the positive behaviors or outcomes that you want to see, right? That's the whole point. So you need to call out the specifics so that they can do that. So an example, the slides for this presentation are amazing. They were very informative, easy to follow, they were visually appealing. Great job with this. I can't wait to see more. Right? No notes is cool for certain things, but no notes. You should be providing notes. You should be providing notes so that the people can keep doing it, right? That's what you want. Also, communicate clearly, communicate professionally. I feel like that should go without saying, but sometimes it doesn't. Again, I used to deliver my feedback very directly. It was good insight, it was actionable, it wasn't tactful. And so you have to make sure that, again, you're going to put someone in a space that they're going to be receptive and open to the feedback that you're giving. So there is a marked difference in, thank you for leading the meeting today with our client. In the future, I'd like to see you focus the conversation more on the next steps and less on the background research. We did provide reading materials for them ahead of the meeting so we can maximize our time. Let me know if you want to go over your approach before our next call. Versus you focused too much on the background research and the client already has a pre-read. You wasted a lot of time we could have spent talking about next steps. The sentiment is the same. They want you to focus more on next steps and less on background research. But the latter doesn't really offer a solution, doesn't provide any actionable steps. It doesn't create that supportive learning environment, it doesn't create a culture of feedback. The receiver is always going to be on the defensive instead of being open to, potentially updating their approach. You stepping in to be a supportive system to helping them update that approach. And it's just going to make it harder for both of you to have those conversations, going to make it harder for them to receive and harder for you to give that feedback. So keep it professional. Make sure that you are giving that feedback in a way that is going to be direct. You don't have to sugarcoat. I don't sugarcoat, right? But in a way that's going to be open. The person will be open to receiving it. And then lastly, this may sound familiar, give feedback regularly. You want to seek out feedback regularly. You want to give feedback regularly. This is not just at performance time, right? We talked about the feedback being equitable, actionable, timely. It needs to occur with some frequency and some regularity. We're not nitpicking, but if we are only waiting until maybe a performance, an annual performance, it's too late. It's too late for the person to make adjustments, right? There's nothing that they can do. If you ever been in that situation where all year you've heard, great job, 10 out of 10, no notes, right? And then when you get to performance, you get a 3 out of 5, middle of the road, basic. And you're like, well, no one told me that there should be some sort of difference. No one shared what I could have done better or what I should keep doing, right? Those conversations can't happen once a year. They need to happen all the time. They can be extremely simple. It does not have to be a full on 45-minute feedback check in session or written out, right? The process doesn't have to be that convoluted. It could just be a really quick 5 to 10 minutes of, hey, this is what I've been noticing. I want you to keep doing this. I want you to perhaps do less of this. And I want you to absolutely do more, right? Or switching those things around, right? You want that, what we like to start, stop, continue. So those are some activities you want to start, some of those things that you want to stop, some of those things that you want to continue. But you can apply that same exercise to giving someone feedback, right? And it helps to structure it in that way. And so that, again, once you're doing it on a regular basis, it creates a culture of feedback so that when you go to have those conversations, the person is already primed for the feedback that you're going to give. They're not like, oh, why are they calling me in here for this check-in? Or I'm now on the defensive. They already know we do feedback all the time. I want to make sure that you have this feedback. I want to make sure that you feel open to giving me feedback, right? And continuing this dialogue and continuing to create this feedback loop so that it isn't just this one time of year and then there's really no way to change it, or that it's so infrequent that if someone, you do need to give feedback on that new product or that the new design or that new system that they want to implement, that it becomes awkward because you didn't have that culture in the first place. All right, y'all. So I hope that was very helpful for you. I am very much open to feedback. So please feel free to leave in the comments or reach out to me if you have, more questions. If you're like, what, I still don't know how to give really good feedback, we can talk about that. I also have a resource for you today that is going to be our carte blanche, CARR blanche. So I want y'all to check out the book, The Feedback Imperative by Anna Carroll. So this book is, I don't know how long I've had it. I think I got it in like grad school or something like that. Either way, it's a really great resource that encourages you to update your own beliefs about feedback and helps you to reduce your brain stress when it comes to the feedback process. So it gets really into the nitty gritty of like the neuroscience behind the way that we give and receive all of that stuff. Cause y'all know I like to nerd out. So I like the science behind it, but it's also a great read because it provides all of this information in a really digestible way. So please check that out. That's The Feedback Imperative. Let me know what you think. And there is another book that you could potentially check out. It's about how you have difficult conversations that need to be had. But sometimes, when you're giving feedback, it is a difficult conversation. So if you just need some more resources to add to your toolkit, Crucial Conversations goes along with The Feedback Imperative. So grab those two books. They are probably in your library if you just want to check them out, read them. Again, something that could be useful in helping you shape conversations, right? And go along with what we've talked about here. And lastly, I have an announcement for all of y'all. So next episode will actually be the last episode of the Culture Docent. We've received incredible feedback, right? That has helped us cultivate, this true space for learning about identity, innovation, leadership, and of course, culture. But, I walk it like I talk it, I practice what I preach. So for me to be intentional in how I show up in my life, right, I need to shift my priorities in this season. And so that means that unfortunately that the Culture Docent is going to be coming to an end. I'm going to share more over the coming weeks, right, about how you can still engage with me, what's next for me, what's next for KMOB 1003. So this will be it. We'll have one more episode after that, and then the Culture Docent is going to be checking out. However, we do have one more episode, so I want y'all to come back. Check my LinkedIn, check my IG again for that information. We'll be sharing more with you. But until then, make sure that you are continuing to celebrate Black History this month and every month because we're 365 Black, right? All year long. You should be celebrating Black history, as well as I want you to make sure that you check out Running Out of Time: Why Black Hearts Are Failing Sooner. That is the series that we have been running over at KMOB1003.com, led by our CEO of KMOB Global Media, Pamela Nichols. So make sure that you check that out. There's some great conversations. The episodes drop every Wednesday in February, so you will have a chance to go back and listen. If you haven't watched any of them, you can listen, check out the ones for the rest of the month. So make sure you do that every Wednesday in February for American Heart Month. It's a really important conversation, and we want to ensure that you're thinking about not only your physical health, your mental health, spiritual health as well. So I will see all of y'all on Tuesday for more empowering conversations that lead to empowered experiences. Bye, y'all.